Let's call the regular meeting of Lakewood City Council for January 17, 2023 to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. As is our custom, we will now pause for a moment of silence. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Baker?
Here.
Bullock?
Here.
Keppel? Here. Litton?
Here.
Marks? Rader?
Yep.
Schachner?
Here.
Reading and disposal of the minutes of the regular meeting of council held January 3rd, 2023.
Move to dispose without the necessity of a reading. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 1, report from Committee of the Whole regarding...
Forgive me, Madam Clerk. I'd like to move items 10 and 11 to the top of the agenda. If at all possible, we'll start with 10.
Item 10, communication from Councilmember Bullock regarding Nopec Green Ribbon Award.
Councilman Bullock.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dear Mayor, members of council, and residents of Lakewood, both the City of Lakewood and our energy aggregation partner, the Northeast Ohio Public Energy Council, or Nopec for short, are incorporating clean energy use and carbon reduction into our operating practices, and we both are increasing our sustainability goals and accelerating the pace of our efforts. One way in which Nopec supports its member communities in their sustainability efforts is by recognizing their accomplishments via an annual awards program. And tonight, the City of Lakewood officially receives recognition from Nopec as a 2022 Green Ribbon Award recipient for outstanding achievements that reduce our municipality's energy footprint. The project completed by Lakewood earning this award is our provision of publicly accessible electric vehicle charging infrastructure, a tool to help Lakewood residents, employees, and visitors use EVs today and expand their use of this class of vehicle as it becomes an industry standard in the next several years. Using EVs saves drivers money on fuel and maintenance costs while reducing tailpipe emissions to zero and greatly lowering carbon intensity throughout the life of the equipment. The City of Lakewood was among the first municipalities in the region to provide public charging infrastructure when it installed its first Level 2 chargers in 2018. In 2019 and 20, we were able to add one charger per year, including the first Level 3 or DC fast charger in the region that was publicly accessible. In 2021, by leveraging grant funds from Nopec and Ohio EPA, Lakewood installed 4 new dual-port Level 2 charging stations across the city, improving proximity to residents and effectively doubling the percentage within a half mile of a station from 32 to 63%. The planning, procurement, and installation of these stations was done entirely in-house by a coordinated team of city employees. Data tracking shows this expansion has helped to continue increased charging usage across our community, exceeding 400 charging sessions per month for the first time, and now growing to approximately 500 sessions in a month. Greenhouse gas savings have tripled from 1,613 kilograms and 380 gallons of gasoline per month to 5,735 kilograms of emissions and more than 1,000 gallons of gas per month. Please join me in welcoming speakers from Nopec to present the award and in congratulating our city team that conducted this work, earning this recognition. Sincerely.
Thank you, Councilman. I'll first move to receive and file that communication.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. And to kick off our discussion, our guest from Nopec, please.
Thank you, Councilman Bullock, for the words there. Members of council and Mayor George, my name is Jose Delgado, and I'm a relationship manager with Nopec, and I'm essentially your relationship manager for the City of Lakewood. And I'm here with my colleague, Caitlin Albright, and as you mentioned, Councilman Bullock, we're here to present the award for the Green Ribbon. The efforts that the City of Lakewood did last year with regards to initiatives to more sustainable future for the City of Lakewood. So with that, I'm going to let Caitlin take over from here, but again, appreciate the opportunity to speak here tonight.
Thank you, Jose. Good evening, everyone. So Nopec created this program in 2021 in an effort to recognize and shine a light on some of the best sustainability practices within Nopec's footprint. This year, we had quite a few outstanding nominations, and it was a very close competition. But Lakewood's EV charging station project stood out to our judging committee for a number of reasons. The biggest of which being your intent went beyond simply developing EV charging station infrastructure. It was clear to our judging committee that your overall goal is to encourage and educate your community on the reduction of their carbon emissions and alternative transportation methods. So without further ado, I would like to present the City of Lakewood with the second annual Green Ribbon Award, as well as a small monetary prize to put towards future energy efficiency initiatives. Congratulations.
President,
And before we vote, let's further discussion from my colleagues.
simply wanted to recognize David Boss, Assistant Planning Director, and Mayor George, who greatly expanded the EV charging access points as described in the letter, and all of the systematic, thoughtful planning is credit to the planning department, Mr. Boston, and also the Public Works Department doing the install. So this is really a joint, shared a project, and I'm not doing a very good job summarizing, but at your pleasure, Mr. President, if somebody from the administration wanted to add.
Oh, certainly, yeah. If any members of the administration would like to speak to the award and the work that has gone into our fair city receiving it.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of council. So first of all, thank you for the recognition. It was absolutely a team effort. David did a great job of coordinating with the mayor's office, with all of you, and then with our Public Works Department, who was able to implement. We have now 13 charging ports in the city, geographically spread throughout the city, so try to get as equal access as we can to everyone to take advantage of this resource. And we're also combining that as part of our education campaign. The climate action plan that's forthcoming, and a number of other measures. So thank you, everybody, for your support as we put this program together. We're not done. It's just the beginning, but there's still more to be done. But thank you for recognizing where we are to this point.
Of course. And on that note, we look forward to seeing your submission this upcoming year.
It's great news for all. Any further discussion from my colleagues, and then we'll take a picture? All right. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion to receive and file? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes, so let's take a picture. Go to 11, yeah. Madam Clerk, item 11, please. Once we have everybody in their places. I know.
Item 11, Resolution 2023-04, a resolution to recognize the heroic efforts of the Lakewood Animal and Safety and Welfare Advisory Board, the Citizens Committee for the Lakewood Animal Shelter, and the Lakewood Police Department's Division of Animal Control to rescue dozens of dogs from inhumane conditions and bring them one step closer to safe, stable homes.
First, I'll move to adopt.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded, and from here, I'm not sure if perhaps Chief Kowchek or any other member of the administration would like to speak to this first, or we could call up our volunteer groups as well. Mayor George?
Thank you. I just want to sincerely thank everyone, from city staff to all of our members in the community, Claus, LASWAB, for helping in this situation that really resulted in a better environment, obviously, for these animals. This community really pulled a lot of resources together last minute. And I truly, truly appreciate all those involved in helping these animals.
Sure, and forgive me, I should have turned it to my colleague, Councilmember Marks, for first introducing this, so
Thank you.
apologies.
No apologies necessary. I just want to acknowledge everyone. I was at the LSWAB board meeting that night that these dogs were rescued. And I was so impressed not only with the city services, the animal control officers. I mean, it was the coldest day of the year, tremendous wind, and the fact that animal control had to create shelter for these animals. And what was even more amazing was the volunteer efforts of Claus and LSWAB. I mean, they are so committed to the community and the animals of the community. I was just moved beyond. We have such a wonderful community. And the amount of volunteers that came through the community to offer donations of money and food and blankets and volunteer opportunities to clean cages and put water in the bowls. So it was a heroic effort, one that no one could imagine. I mean, when you think of 40 dogs, it was just amazing. So kudos to all of you. A great job, well done. And I'm proud to be in a community where you have people that are so compassionate about animals. So I know that if you're compassionate about animals, how too do you speak about other people? So thank you very much for being a part of this community. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you, Councilmember Marks, for introducing this. The home in which this occurred is in Ward 3, and it's been a place where you knew something was going on that shouldn't have been, but whereby we were somewhat challenged and limited by what our options were to do something about it. And I want to say I know the administration is working on ways to hopefully cause something like this to never happen again, and I appreciate that as well. The best thing we could possibly hope for is to learn from this experience and not have it ever be replicated again in our fair city. I'd also like to invite up anyone from the Citizens Committee for the Lakewood Animal Shelter and or LASWAB who wants to come up and speak to this resolution.
Good evening, Councilwoman Marks, members of council, Madam Mayor, and members of the administration. Thank you for this kind recognition. CCLES is an all-volunteer nonprofit organization committed to the well-being of Lakewood's animals. Our volunteers are tireless advocates for the animals that come into Lakewood Animal Shelter. We coordinate foster care, pay for veterinary care, help coordinate and transport animals to their veterinary appointments and the clinics for their sterilization surgeries, among other functions. Our dedicated volunteers all pitched in to assist the animal control officers wherever they could in the care of these beagles. One especially dedicated CCLAS volunteer, Molly Souter, who wasn't able to come this evening, was instrumental in assisting the shelter staff during this past month and deserves special recognition. She came into our organization this past year from the Humane Society in Sonoma County, California. Her knowledge of sheltering practices and her dedication to the animals is exceptional. She took time off of her job to be able to help and to be present at the shelter every day to assist with the daily care of these dogs and record keeping. We are extremely grateful for Molly's valuable input and support during this time. In addition to the hands-on assistance at the shelter, CCLAS was able to provide and purchase thousands of dollars in immediately needed equipment and supplies because of the generous donations we received from our thoughtful community. Our amazing, compassionate community members donated tremendous amounts of food, blankets, towels, funds, and shelter supplies to assure the beagles would be comfortable and well taken care of during their stay at the Lakewood Animal Shelter. And we applaud our caring community for the outpouring of concern for these dogs. We all do this out of a love for the animals, and we do not seek recognition for this work, but we sincerely appreciate the thoughtful acknowledgement of the dedication of our CCLAS volunteers. Thank you again.
I'm just going to wing it. I echo everything that Kara said, and I think it's really important that we recognize what an important part Claus plays in the function of the shelter and the partnership between the shelter and Claus. And our board is just happy to be there to help facilitate things or deliberate on things. But being at the shelter, it was incredibly impressive to see Jack, Elaine, and Kurt and what they did. And I just want to recognize. That's it. Thank you.
And I didn't mention, I'm sure Jack won't say, but Jack, Elaine, and Kurt all stepped up. I mean, 41 beagles is a lot for 3 people to handle in a shelter that's only built for 7 dogs. So it was a tremendous effort by everybody to make sure these dogs were well taken care of during their stay. And I applaud the animal control officers as well in that, and the LeSwab volunteers that stepped up. Thank you.
Thank you. Colleagues, any additional comment?
One quick thought.
Councilman
Just
Rader.
reiterates to me the importance of both these organizations and the collaboration between the city. I know we've spent a lot of time in the mayor's office trying to figure out how we continue to strengthen that relationship. So just thank you for all your work, and we're dedicated as ever. And just pretty much echoing what my colleague Cindy Marks said, whatever we can do to continue to foster that tight relationship that allows for these kinds of things to be taken care of. And in the future, when we have our new animal shelter, we'll be all the more ready and all the more prepared for situations like this. So thank you for what you do, and look forward to continuing this relationship.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilman Schachner.
Thank you, Jordan. Just briefly, we have our volunteers and we have our animal control officers. Sometimes like, oh, they're just doing their job, but this is above and beyond what anybody expects when they sign up for animal control or to be part of CLAWS or LSWAB, whatever, can't pronounce it right. But I don't think we could do enough to thank you folks, because this really couldn't happen without the assistance of our volunteers and our staff here in Lakewood working together, supplementing what we can do here as a city. And it's just incredible that it always amazes me, people go out of their way when they put others first, and it just reminds you about how good a community we have and what good caring people we have here in the city. And just thank you again for all the time and effort you put into this. It doesn't go unnoticed, and again, we thank you.
Very good. Any further comment? Vice President Keppel.
Thank you, and I'll echo my colleagues' statements. Thank you so much for all of your work, CCLAS, LeSwab, our animal control officers, as well as I know our building department also had to do some work with the structure also, and I want to acknowledge their work with that, and all departments that stepped up to handle this. I hope that one of the ways that we can, in addition to this resolution, is show you our gratitude, is making sure that we are, and I'm sure the administration is doing this, looking at our processes to make sure that when we can do everything we can to prevent this from happening again, as well as making sure we have the resources available to help all of our animals so that we don't overstretch our volunteers so much. So thank you so much, and let's keep working to make sure that this is the best community it can be for all of our residents, whether human or otherwise. So, thank you.
Thank you. And once we've voted on this resolution, we'll take a picture. And basically, if you think maybe there's some small chance you should be in the picture, just get in the picture, because I know a lot of people really work together to be a part of this. That includes any and all city staff, any and all volunteers, and of course, council. So with that, any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes. Let's take another picture.
Hi. She's the president.
Okay, Madam Clerk, item 1.
Item 1, report from Committee of the Whole meeting held January 9th, 2023.
Thank you. I'll be brief. Committee of the Whole met this evening just before tonight's council meeting. Oh. Yes. Sorry. No. Oh, thank you. Yes, I will still be brief, but I will summarize a different meeting to talk about our Committee of the Whole having met last Monday, to discuss Chris Gordon and his nomination to be our Public Works Director here in the city of Lakewood. I recall all of my colleagues who were present asking questions, good questions to his experience and the applicability of what he may have worked through and gone through in Shaker Heights and how that compares to the city of Lakewood and how applicable that is to the city of Lakewood. And the committee did recommend his appointment unanimously in that committee meeting. I believe that was all that was on our agenda, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, and we had executive session, but that was related to a law and union negotiation update from the administration. And so I won't go into that any further. And move to receive and file that oral report.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 2, Resolution 2023-01, a resolution to take effect immediately approving the appointment of Chris Gordon to the position of Director of Public Works upon taking the oath of office.
Move to adopt.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Councilman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to comment that his children seem very well behaved, and they waded through that. So good father as well as a good public works director. So.
Expect nothing less. It wasn't part of our questioning, but it does fit. Any other comments?
Mr. President.
Councilman Bullock.
Simply that we look forward to working with about-to-be Director Gordon, and appreciate your energy and your responsiveness. You've already solved some problems pronto that I raised, and so we're looking forward to a beautiful partnership. Thank you.
To echo those sentiments, yes. I was very excited upon, meeting with you over the past couple weeks, and happy that you'll be in this role. And, to your family, our apologies in advance for the time he will be away, and things like that for late nights on Mondays with long-winded politicians at times. So, but we appreciate all the time and effort that got you to this point, and excited to see what happens moving forward with our collective work. Any further discussion? Hearing none on the motion to adopt. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion passes.
Item 3, oath of office of Chris Gordon, Director of Public Works.
Do we have to receive and file this first? I know we turned it over to the mayor.
That was COVID.
All right.
All right, so we're going to administer the oath of office. So raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Chris Gordon,
I, Chris Gordon,
recognizing my duty
recognizing my duty
to the citizens of Lakewood,
to the citizens of Lakewood,
do solemnly promise and swear
do solemnly promise and swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
and laws
and laws
of the United States of America,
of the United States of America,
the Constitution and statutes
the Constitution and statutes
of the State of Ohio,
of the State of Ohio,
and the amended charter and ordinances
and the amended charter and ordinances
of the City of Lakewood,
of the City of Lakewood,
and I will faithfully perform the duties
and I will faithfully perform the duties
of Public Works Director
of Public Works Director
in the City of Lakewood
in the City of Lakewood
to the best of my ability and understanding.
to the best of my ability and understanding.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Lots of board. Let's read it.
Do we customarily take a picture? Oh, yeah, let him take a picture. We don't need to be in it. Sure, sure, sure. Mhm.
Very nice.
Thank you.
All right, with that.
Thank you very much to everybody here, to all the directors, to City Council. Thank you for this opportunity. Extremely grateful. Thank you.
Likewise, and I'm sure we'll make you earn it every single day. All right, good. All right, good. Okay, I will move then to receive and file the oath, I suppose.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 4, report from Committee of the Whole regarding meeting held tonight, January 17th, 2023.
Thank you, Clerk Bach. Apologies for getting ahead of myself, but Committee of the Whole, in addition to having met last Monday, did meet this evening as well, and we discussed several items. We approved our minutes, of course, of the previous meeting. We discussed the downtown redevelopment of our former Lakewood Hospital site. Director Leininger provided an update that primarily consisted of updates derived from the recent Architectural Board of Review meetings and their approvals and discussions, I should say, as they deliberate further. We're starting to understand more and more where all the Legos are going to go in terms of the development there, with the anticipation of some agreement to be drafted and discussed and before council before spring. I think that's my main takeaway from the meeting this evening. And we also discussed 3 separate board and commission appointments that were before the committee. In the case of Architectural Board of Review, the committee moved to appoint Chris Egerverry, thank you very much, to that spot. Zoning, we still need more applicants, so if anyone out there is interested in our Board of Zoning Appeals, please consider that. And then for our Public Art Task Force, Councilwoman Marks recommended Jason Frederick for that spot, and the committee agreed. And so I believe that consists of everything in our meeting, so I'll move to receive and file that oral report.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 5, Resolution 2022-49, a resolution to take effect immediately appointing blank to the Board of Building Standards Architecture Board of Review for the 5-year term beginning January 1st, 2023 and ending December 31st, 2027.
Thank you. Move to substitute inserting the name Chris Egerverry into the blank.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? It was noted Mr. Egerverry's credentials in architecture that lend themselves well to the role. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Madam Clerk.
Baker?
Yes.
Bullock?
Yes.
Keppel.
Yes.
Litton.
Yes.
Marks.
Yes.
Rader.
Yes.
Schachner.
And that motion passes. Move to adopt.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk.
Baker.
Yes.
Bullock.
Yes.
Keppel.
Yes.
Litton.
Yes.
Marks.
Yes.
Rader.
Yes.
Schachner.
Yes.
And that motion passes.
Item 6, Resolution 2022-58, a resolution to take effect immediately, appointing one person to the Board of Zoning Appeals for the remainder of an unexpired term beginning immediately and ending December 31st, 2024.
Move to defer.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 7, Resolution 2022-59, a resolution to take effect immediately, appointing one person to the Public Art Advisory Board for the remainder of an unexpired term beginning immediately and ending December 31st, 2024.
Move to substitute inserting the name Jason Frederick into the blank.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those, I'm sorry, Madam Clerk.
Baker.
Yes.
Bullock.
Yes.
Keppel.
Yes.
Litton.
Yes.
Marks.
Yes.
Rader.
Yes.
Schachner.
And that motion passes. Move to adopt.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, do we want to invite public comment hypothetically from Mr. Frederick?
Oh, sure.
If you'd like.
As I was not fully aware that you were present. I apologize. I'm so glad you're here.
I'm
And
here as a member of the LCRAC, actually. They have decided to be sending us along to, invite conversation with City Council face-to-face more regularly. So I didn't know this was going down. I'm very excited, though, because the PAAB is something I'm very, excited about. I would only say that in the same way that when new flowers and new leaves spring up on a plant, it's a sign that it's flourishing, and I think it's exactly the same way for a municipality. So when new art comes up, it's a sign that we're doing the right thing, and you can use it as tools to invite other diverse members of other communities to come and be part of what's going on in Lakewood. Big fan of Lakewood, and I can't wait to get to work.
Thanks.
So, thanks.
Excellent.
Any questions?
no, I'll only say that, this is a wonderful example. You applied for a vacancy on City Council.
It's true, yeah.
And that perhaps was a spark to further involvement with the city. And I'm glad that sometimes that is viewed not as a roadblock or a dead end, but as a beginning. And I'm glad that that was the case.
Just want to pitch in and play ball for the coach.
That's great. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
And how serendipitous that you were here tonight. Okay, on the motion to adopt, I believe, Madam Clerk.
Baker.
Yes.
Bullock.
Yes.
Keppel.
Yes.
Litton.
Yes,
Marks.
Yes.
Rader.
Yes.
Schachner.
Yes.
and that motion passes.
Item 8, report from Public Works and Sustainability Committee meeting held January 9th, 2023.
Councilman Rader.
Thank you, Mr. President. We had a great meeting. Basically, one item on the docket for discussion, which was a report from the Tree Advisory and Education Board. As part of their charge, they are to give an update to council every so often, I believe every year, and they did in spectacular fashion. We could have spent 2 hours. We were also graced with our brand-new Public Works Director, who gave a report as well on all the work that was done on the city side and the collaboration with the Tree Education and Advisory Board. But there were several recommendations that were made. Some of them are in progress, such as hiring a urban forester. We had an update from the administration on what was going to happen there, leveraging the, you know, spoiler alert, that's in the works. We're going to get an urban forester here pretty soon, hopefully this year. That'd be fantastic. Also, working on the Tree City USA, building sort of towards applying. We applied for funds from them for the first time in a very long time. We've been a member of Tree City USA. We've been a Tree City since the beginning, the inception in the 1970s, but really leveraging that relationship to grow our capacity there. Also doing more private side tree planting, and they've certainly stepped up to the plate and helped us there, and there's been a great resource. And also share a little bit about what they've done the previous year, like doing the contest with the Observer, and finding trees around the community that people could nominate, and just sharing some of the great things going on with trees here in the community. And I think things are on the up and up, and it really does seem that way. And it is exciting to hear that. And I just love the fact that we have this, just like with Last WAB and these other groups, this great collaborations between government, citizenry, and all these other interests working towards the same goals of sustainability, bringing a vibrant arts culture to Lakewood, taking care of our animals. I mean, this meeting is really, going the right direction. I like it. Next, we'll hear from, no, I won't go that far. But it's been great, and, we look forward to seeing the next report here soon. And what I'll do, too, I have an oral report today, but I'll also pull together both presentations, and I'll make those publicly available. We'll make sure that they're archived in the records so that, future generations can kind of see how this all started. This is their first report, and they really did a phenomenal job. So just really, again, hyper encouraged and looking forward to what comes next this year in forestry. So that's it. Thank you, Mr. President, and I move to receive and file that oral communication.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Sorry.
Can I interject one more time? I'm sorry. I just have to
Motion's
thank.
been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I just had to thank Vice President Keppel, who's done a phenomenal job. I stepped back from the Tree Advisory Board. Mr. Bullock and I had initially proposed this ordinance for this board to be started, and it's been going phenomenally, and Ms. Keppel is really carrying that ball forward, so I just wanted to thank her. So thank you, Mr. President.
Okay. Very nice. Any further discussion? Vice President Keppel.
Thank you, Councilman Reeder, for that shout out, and thank you to both for getting them started. It really was a great presentation, and to your point about making it public, it is, if anyone wants to watch it, you can go on the City Council video website link, and it is posted now, so you can see the entire presentation and learn all you want to know about trees in Lakewood.
The Lorax Committee. I like it. All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none on the motion to receive and file. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 9, report from Public Safety Committee regarding meeting held today, January 17th, 2023.
Councilman Baker.
Thank you, Mr. President. So we had a productive meeting that basically discussed the communication from October 3rd on behalf of myself, Councilman Bullock, and Councilman Schachner related to speed enforcement trends. Got an update from the administration on some data collection, particularly for speeds in school zones, and then, which had some surprising findings, although it is just one snippet of data, more data collection is warranted. But there are instances where, 25 to, 34, 35% of people are going over 10 miles per hour faster than the school speed limit during school times, which is pretty troubling to me. So, that data helps inform whether or not more data collection is necessary. So we talked about that. Also talked with Chief Kauchak about the overtime detail for speed enforcement. They focused on it during the 2 weeks in December before school closed for the winter, and then the 2 weeks in January. Some interesting data there. I was able to see it, just as a resident going around, seeing the increased enforcement. And then we also had a discussion of traffic cameras, particularly traffic cameras in school zones, how that would likely require, if it is something the city wanted to do, more data collection in those school zones to understand how it would work, more collaboration with the law department, which a conversation which, I'm certainly willing to continue to have, potentially coming back sometime in May or June after school has closed to have that conversation and then think about potentially some implementation before the next school year starts, but those are all things that could come as we further the discussion with the administration. So that is the oral report. Mr. President.
Thank you. Move to receive and file that report.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? I have a feeling we will be discussing traffic in Lakewood for some time, one way or the other.
Hopefully slower traffic, Mr. President.
Slower traffic, that's right, that's right. All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 12, communication from President Litton regarding recodification of ordinances.
Thank you. I won't read the communication verbatim. This is our periodic recodification. and is somewhat ministerial in nature. I'll move to receive and file that communication.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 13, ordinance 01, 2023, an ordinance to take effect immediately to approve the editing and inclusion of certain ordinances as parts of the various component codes of the codified ordinances and to provide for the publication of such new matter.
Move to defer.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 14, communication from Councilmember Rader regarding permanent pay-to-stay policy.
Councilman Rader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dear colleagues, the following ordinance proposes to permanently extend pay-to-stay protections to renters within the city and also creates a more inclusive definition of what can be provided as payment by tenants to landlords and the narrow set of circumstances where someone may be facing eviction. As the pandemic set in and threatened the housing system stability of many of our most vulnerable residents, Lakewood City Council adopted the original pay-to-stay ordinance as a temporary measure back in early 2021. In anticipation of the policy sunset, Council extended that in December through the end of February so we could continue this conversation and we could potentially make it permanent here. As inflation stays high, job growth is pretty slow. A lot of people, frankly, are still facing a lot of issues. There's fewer options for rental resources than there were during the pandemic when monies were more readily available through federal stimulus. So we're now recommending that, I'm recommending that we extend this ordinance permanently and make permanent what's been on the book since March 15th, nearly 2 years now, 2021. The following ordinance does exactly that, so I really welcome folks' support, and I would encourage this to be referred to the what's it, Housing and Planning and Development Committee? Is that what we're calling it now? Okay. Housing and Planning and Development Committee, so that we can discuss it further, go through the regular process. I also want to thank the Law Department for cleaning this up, making it something that I think we all can sort of move quickly through, and I welcome my colleagues' feedback on some of the provisions that we've doctored up, particularly around the source of income portion of it. So with that, I'll move to receive and file that communication.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. I'll only add, Councilman Rader, you had referred to potentially referring this, and obviously we're not going to refer the communication, but the ordinance to Housing, Planning, and Development. We've already discussed this extensively. Do we feel like there are material changes or more technical ones? I would want your perspective and perhaps the law departments as well, if it makes sense.
Well, working with the law department, I'm perfectly comfortable with it. I won't speak for the law department, but in conversations, it seemed like the law department was pretty comfortable with it. So, of course, I'm amenable to adopting through after the third reading, per our usual, regardless of whether it's sent to a committee. So I leave that to your discretion.
Sure. It's worth noting that our extension of the temporary ordinance sunsets at the end of February, but we would have time for 3 readings, to your point. Any further discussion on the motion to receive and file the communication?
I would like to discuss it in committee just to, make sure we crossed all our T's, dotted our I's, just review the language. I trust everybody did a good enough job on it, but I just to have a robust further discussion just in committee setting prior to sending it back up and voting on it again.
Council President.
Director Vargo.
Schachner, thank you. I think I share, there was contemplation on our part that it was going to committee, and I think the council would want to hear from the law department in executive session about the legal interplay between this ordinance and the Ohio statutory framework. I'd want to explain that, just make you aware of it, and I think it would be appropriate for executive session in the committee setting. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay. Well, on the motion to receive and file the communication, first and foremost, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 15, ordinance 2023, an ordinance to take effect immediately expanding rental rights within the city of Lakewood by allowing renters who tender full rent plus any additional late fees and court costs prior to completion of eviction proceedings to avoid eviction for late payment of rent and setting reasonable late fees that a landlord may charge a tenant.
Move to refer to Housing Planning and Development Committee.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 16, communication from Police Chief Kowchek regarding Office of Criminal Justice Services, ARPA Violent Crime Reduction Strategies Grant.
Chief Kowchek.
Dear Council President Litton and members of City Council, the Office of Criminal Justice Services has awarded the Lakewood Police Department a grant in the amount of $217,752. This grant will be used to reduce violent crime in Lakewood by enabling the procurement of additional license plate reader cameras as well as surveillance cameras and defraying the costs associated with having officers assigned to Madison Park during peak use times. Pursuant to LCO Section 111.14B, this letter serves as notice of our intention to accept these funds. No City of Lakewood matching funds are required. Thank you.
Thank you. Move to receive and file that communication.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
One question, Mr. President.
Councilman Ryder.
Maybe for the police chief. Someone brought to my attention, and you can just maybe quickly brief me on, or us, on how these cameras comply with and like invasion of privacy type concerns. I remember having this conversation back with our former police chief too, but I can't quite remember exactly. A resident was concerned that it might be invading their privacy to have a camera reading every single license plate. And then running their data, running their records and things. Can you speak to like the privacy concerns and why that would or wouldn't be the case?
Sure. So it's a license plate reader camera. The license plates have no expectation of privacy. These cameras in particular have hot lists that go with them that alert us to stolen cars in the city, things of that nature. We use them more in a after-the-fact manner, in that if we have a crime committed and we can locate that car through these cameras, we'll glean the information at that time. We don't, all the information we get from these cameras, all the license plates with the owner information, things of that nature, it gets erased after 30 days.
Okay, so just to clarify, if I may, just one quick follow-up. So basically, by going to the BMV and signing up for, it's a privilege to have a license plate, have a car, and thus you're pretty much signing up to be checked whenever somebody wants to run your plate to see if
Yeah,
it's
the license plate identifies the car.
not you. Okay, that makes sense. I'm just trying to figure out how to explain this to this individual. So I really
Sure.
appreciate that insight. Thank you, Mr. President.
It leads me to a question, actually, Chief, without going too far into the weeds on this, I promise, especially if this is our last agenda item. So do you get in real time an alert if there's a stolen car that pulls into a parking lot or
We do.
something like that?
Yeah,
Wow.
if it passes the camera, it'll give us alert, real-time alert.
Wow, okay. That's amazing. Just wanted to clarify that. Okay. Any further discussion? Vice President Keppel.
Thank you. And just on that note, I think it's worth noting that this is a good reason not to steal cars in Lakewood. So and home watching a home. Chief, did we, who submitted this grant? Did we have to do work on this grant?
Yeah, so we had our grant writer put it all together, and with the help of the police department and others.
Well, I just want to express my appreciation for doing that. We really appreciate getting money that helps our police forces that doesn't come from the taxpayers. So thank you for your work on that. We really appreciate that.
I just want to mention the IT department helped out a lot also
Great.
in this.
All right. Thanks, Mike and IT.
Yes.
Very good. Any further discussion on the motion to receive and file? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes. With that, we are at the conclusion of our docket this evening. Next is public comment, if we should have anyone signed up for public comment. No one signed in to speak. We do have a resident present who'd like to speak. Since we haven't had any other signups, why don't we allow for you to speak, if you don't mind, ma'am, stating your name and address for the record when you come on up, and you'll have 5 minutes to. You're fine. No, we appreciate that you're here. Sure, please step up to the podium, though, so we can hear you.
Okay. My question is.
Could you state your name and address for the
Okay.
record first,
My
please?
name is Ruby Kumar. My my address is 1624 Cohasset Avenue.
Okay.
And I have a quick question. When someone votes and the person lose that they were voting against, how can they wind up on the committee in the same spot they were in before?
Well, I'm sorry. Why don't you go ahead and finish? Because with public comment, it is not like a question and answer session necessarily.
Okay. Well, I've been asking that question. Nobody can seem to answer it. What's the point of coming out and voting? Don't you think that the residents should have a right to who they want to represent them?
Well, I will comment that our charter does just that, in that we first can appoint someone in the case of a vacancy to city council, which we have done a few times in the last few years. And then as soon as there is an election, the people of a ward or the city as a whole have the opportunity to then reelect that person should they choose to run again. So, you know, we do need to have a full slate of council members whenever possible. So our charter allows us to appoint someone, and that is through a vote of this council, an elected body. And then, again, our charter allows for that person to run for re-election or election in the next possible municipal election.
All right.
So,
Well, thank you.
good question. Happy to clarify. All right. Any other public comment? No? It's not open mic night, I guess, so we probably should keep things moving. I will just state this is our Assistant Clerk, Nick Laskew's final meeting as our Assistant Clerk. And I can't believe 4 or so years have gone by so incredibly swiftly. I can't imagine more things having been thrown at our council office over the course of 4 years from a logistical standpoint. And Nick, you've always served so admirably, and I can't think of a single instance where we've asked something that we didn't get a prompt reply, an excellent response, and a detailed and thorough assessment of whatever the question was. And I'm sure it was the same way for any citizen that called, and I'm sure it was the same way with all of my colleagues that worked with you as well. Just, we owe you a debt of gratitude for all your service to the city of Lakewood. We will save the jokes about why you're leaving us and all those sorts of things, but we really appreciate you, and we'll spend a few different opportunities this week to celebrate you and your service to the city of Lakewood. So thank you. Absolutely. Any further comments from my colleagues? Vice President Keppel.
Thank you. Sorry to embarrass you, Nick, but we're going to probably all be doing this. So I just want to express my personal appreciation. There's been a few times it just happened to fall that when the students have visited City Hall that I've been the council member available to speak to them, and Nick has been the council staff member there to support me, and I've really appreciated working with you on that. We've had a lot of great conversations. Your insight as a landlord also has been helpful, and your eminent professionalism in this role and also in your day job, also in service as a firefighter. So thank you for serving our community so well, serving all of us, and I know you're going to continue to be a great benefit to everyone around you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to care to comment?
Mr. Chair.
Councilman Bullock.
Mr. President. Thank you, Nick. You've been the model of professionalism, and I agree with what the Council Vice President and President said, that your resourcefulness, your quick replies on a number of topics, including public safety, labor relations, and research into particularly tough property transfer cases when there's a deed that's gone, you know, to the sheriff's sale, and you know, or can't get to the sheriff's sale. So all of those and more, we're going to miss you, and thanks for your work.
Thank you. Councilman Rader.
Nick, Deputy Clerk, Last chance I'll get to say that, and I'm sad for it. And you came highly recommended and for really good reason. We couldn't have chosen a better option. We had a lot of really great candidates, and I'm hoping we'll have a lot of great candidates next time around, but you definitely chose the best. You formed this role. The people, whoever's going to be filling your shoes, I doubt they can, but they're going to have I'm going to be eating those words when we have another person sitting in your shoes, but they have huge shoes to fill. You've created this role, and you've really set the standard, set the bar very high. So good luck in all your future endeavors, and let's get a beer soon. Hang out. I look forward to running into you in the grocery store. Bye.
Any further comments? Councilman Baker?
Yeah, I can't see you, Nick, because I'm over here. Yeah, when I first saw your new haircut, it was jarring because I couldn't see you behind the screen. But no, I think council leadership and council and Clerk Bach have a lot of work to do to fill your shoes. You come from such a unique background and perspective, having worked in the State House, having been up here, being a public servant yourself in your day job. So it's been a pleasure working with you. You can't see me right now, but please know that I'm expressing gratitude for your service to the City of Lakewood, and I'm sure we'll work together again in some capacity in the future, and just looking forward to that.
Very good. Councilwoman Marks.
Thanks. Hey, Nick. Didn't get to work with you very much, but I'm going to miss you anyway. Good luck in your new endeavors. Come back and visit.
That's right. Don't be a stranger. Councilmember Schachner, are you?
Yeah, sure. Nick, he's a good guy, a smart guy, and likely going to end up doing a lot more interesting and important stuff than I'll ever get to do. So good luck, man. We'll miss you around here, but look forward to seeing what you do next.
Okay. Any further comment on Nick? We'll save them for their roasts moving forward. Anything from the administration?
Council President Litton, members of council, I just wanted to share that this afternoon we did close on 12984 Lake, so it is now city property, and we'll get to work on figuring out what we need from it, make some decisions on how we move forward and carry forward the path that we had set forth with all of you. Thank you for the support in this, the trust. I know we asked you to take a bit of a leap that we were going to make this purchase, and appreciate the support in doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else from the administration? Okay. I do want to thank Director Dillinger and Clerk Bach for being swift in posting for the deputy clerk role. We do want to fill that quickly, and if anyone out there is interested, please be sure to apply. And if everyone from the administration and my colleagues as well could bear in mind the limitations of our council office at this time when you make requests to said office. I'm sure Maureen would really appreciate it. Seeing no further business before council, I'll move to adjourn.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes. We are adjourned.